Hello and welcome back to Stitch by Stitch chapter-wise conversations with me and Sarab, co-authors of 13 Stitches. I am Sneha, the co-author of 13 Stitches and the author of the fifth stitch, the Chrysalis effect, the one that we are going to be unsewing today. So this story revolves around our protagonist, Anish, and his younger sibling, Brinda. And before we start, before Sarab starts, I would like to read a small piece from the story where Anish is doing some regular activity and Anish's anticipated expression was not readable. He took a pause to let the statement sink in and stop the physical activity of packing his books for the next day. In a dumbfoundedly calm tone, he said, "Why would I ever be jealous of you, Brinda? You are my baby sister. You have almost grown in my arms. I can never feel that way about you." Saying so, he smiled at Brinda and his cousins and continued his activity. This comes from our book.
Yes. And while you read that para, now before you move on more towards how interesting this particular chapter of yours is, what's always fascinated me is the invisible measuring scales we grew up with, especially inside large families. Like, even if no one
Right.
says it out loud, there is this very quiet pressure, especially when you're growing up with a sibling who just seems to be a natural at everything. Good grades,
Mhm.
medals, popular in school. It kind of seeps into your own story, doesn't it? And I wonder, what does that do to your sense of self? Like, do you grow with it or shrink a little under it? So, for you, this question is like, I'm so curious. How do you think growing up with a more successful sibling impacts your self worth and identity formation?
So, I think it kind of creates an internal pressure because there's a constant comparison, because even if you don't compare, because, as children, what happens is we don't have that kind of thought process where we are comparing, but there are relatives, there are parents, there are peers, there are friends, who keep telling you that something about your sibling is better than you,
Hmm.
something about them is driving them towards things a lot faster or better, in a better manner, in a better pace or whatever than you. So it kind of creates a constant comparison inside you, so it sort of leads to self doubt, I think, in a lot of cases, leaving the child feeling inadequate about himself or herself. But however, I feel like, the parents play a very huge role here if they create healthy boundaries, because as a child they don't understand it's just impacting their subconscious mind, and for them to decode it, I think takes a very long time. Like, if you look at it even in our own self, it takes us, half our life to understand that it's okay, they were saying that comparison, but it was not for me to take it like that. Or maybe it's, my own pace or whatever. It takes us a very long time, it takes away a long chunk of our life. But then it's for the parent to understand that they should create healthy boundaries between the two children, or how many ever children they have, and create a sense of self awareness in the child, that, each
Hmm.
to their own. You define your own version of success and build your own strong identity. It's not, a real comparison. It's just fun, maybe, at times. So that's for the parent to instill in the child the sense of their unique identity, I guess.
Okay, that's pretty real.
It
That's
does impact the child. Yeah.
it does, and that is absolutely real because that does happen often. And I think what makes it more layered is that you're not supposed to feel bad about it, right? You're meant to cheer
Yeah.
them on, and you probably do. But quietly, you are also negotiating the place in family story, trying to carve space where your light
Right.
can still feel seen and not compared.
Right.
Somewhere I've also been in that
Right.
boat, obviously.
We all
So
have.
yeah, and in that
Yeah.
process, people start finding little ways to cope, survive,
Right.
or even they
Right.
start masking their hurt. Okay, and that's where
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
I
They do.
end up. I used to just write a journal or something, and I used to end up masking my feelings into that place. So, but then this, your answer leads me to another question is like, let me just throw this one out there. What kind of coping mechanisms do you think a person might develop when they constantly feel overshadowed by a sibling's achievements?
So I think that in most cases, so this happened to me personally, okay? Children get overly competitive, not only with the sibling, but with everything and everyone around them.
Hmm.
And because of which what happens is, like you said, they become emotionally withdrawn. They
Hmm.
don't share their emotions. They feel
Hmm.
that constant pressure of, I have to be better than so and so, better than that, better than this, better than, my sibling, maybe in a sphere that the sibling doesn't even exist in. Maybe
Hmm.
the sibling doesn't swim and I swim, but I have to be best at swimming because I have to be, above my sibling or everyone else around. So it creates that unhealthy competition in the child, or even for that matter, as adults, it happens to us so many times, and
Hmm.
eventually what happens is they downplay their talent because the emotions are not, they're not getting recognized. They are not getting, a
Validation.
space to get
Hmm.
out of. Yeah, they're not getting validation. And then their talents, actually, what happens is it gets downplayed. So
Yeah.
if we look at it from a positive angle, there are ways of channeling this feeling into personal growth, but for
Hmm.
which, like I said, there is another person's involvement. It could be a friend, a teacher, a parent who should always instill that faith in the child that he can or she can confide in you, channel these sort of feelings, like, you said you would journal them, so that you
Yeah.
found your own coping mechanism. The child, in this case, if he or she has somebody to share this with, can channel it into, maybe growth, maybe finding better niches for the, where they can shine more independently,
Right.
instead of comparing and trying to shine in a space that is not for them. So yeah.
It's so amazing that we can extract so much out of the stitches that we have in our book. And today's chapter of yours is known as the Chrysalis effect, and it's the fifth stitch. And it's really beautiful, beautifully written by you, because everything that we write is coming from some or the other experience that you have felt, I have felt, and we have seen around. Obviously, that's how everything rolls. But I can't wait to tell people this, that they have to read the fifth one, because it is something that they all are definitely going to feel if they have siblings. Even if they don't, cousins are fair enough to make you feel that way.
Yes. Yeah, yes. I was just about to say, in the sort of society that we live in,
Yeah,
specifically in the Indian context, there's just, no space where you're not going to be compared to somebody on planet Earth.
true.
Yeah. And like you said, not only this story, like each of our stories are, I think, very beautifully crafted, not because we wrote it. I'm not doing apne muh miya mithu, not self-praising our own book. But, I think they come from a standpoint where every story has something relatable for anybody who would read it. Each one has felt some emotion that we have portrayed in our stories, and they're very beautifully sewed with a touch of everyday life. So, yeah,
I,
they're
I like
beautiful.
to really call it as miniature craft pieces. Like,
Yes, very true. I agree with you. I would also at this point urge our listeners, readers, viewers to get their copy of 13 Stitches. It's available on Amazon, it's available on Flipkart, and it's available on all leading platforms. And we are going to put the link in the description box. So, and in the caption as well. So please go grab your copy today.
it's also available with us if you want a signed copy and a little extra goodie.
Yes, you could DM us, write to us, email us, anything.
Yes. Cool. Thank you for tuning in.
And have a great day until we see you again. Take care. Bye.